Albert Einstein said that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He said those that understand it will earn it, and those that don't will pay it. So let's be on the side of the fence that understands it. What is compound interest? It is this idea that whenever you put money into an investment, not only does your money earn a rate of return, but your earnings earn a rate of return. So if I put $10,000 into an investment, first year I earned 10%, I now have $11,000. Now my 11,000, all the money, all 11,000 is earning for me. And that's the compounding effect when you hear compound interest. So there's a rule of thumb that you can use to kind of do the math on this and understand how this works in the real world. It's called the rule of 72. So how does it work? It says take the number 72, divide it by a rate of return, and that will tell you how many years it takes money to double. So let's take 72, divide it by a 7.2% rate of return. We're just going to use easy math this morning. And that tells us that in 10 years, your money will double. So let's use an example. You have $10,000. You're in a 7.2% rate of return for 10 years. You will now have $20,000. You've doubled your money in that 10-year period of time. Think about this. You earned 72% of returns over those years, but you have 100% more money. You got 100% return even though you only earned 72% in your investments. That's the magic of compound interest. But let's take it a step further. This is where it's really going to blow you away. Now you have $20,000. Let's say we do that again for another 10 years. You earn another 7.2% with $20,000. We're going to double the $20,000. So at the end of another 10 years, you now have $40,000. Now let's go back to the original example. You started with $10,000. You earned 144% over 20 years. Remember, 72 in the first 10, 72 in the next 10. So you earned 144%, but your 10,000 turned to 40,000. So in spite of the fact you only earned 144%, your investments actually grew by 400%. That's compound interest. And the more time you have, you can keep repeating this process over and over, and you see ridiculous results. So let's take it out for 40 years. Remember, we started with 10. The first 10 years, we're at 20. The next 10 years, we're at 40. The next 10 years, we're at 80. The next 10 years, we're at 160. So in 40 years of earning that 7.2% rate of return, we've taken our money from $10,000 to $160,000. We have earned 7.2% for 40 years, so that's a 288% return, that's added up to 288%, but our money has grown 1,600%. That's compound interest. That's the magic that Albert Einstein was talking about. And so the key to this is understanding that rule, because you can plug in a bunch of numbers. You can say, hey, if I had 72, if I divided that by a 10% rate of return, how long does it take my money to double? Well, the answer is 7.2 years. If I could get a 36% rate of return, how long would it take my money to double? The answer is 2 years, right? So you can use that rule to determine how much time you're going to need for your money to double, and then you can really see that go to work for you. But the key, as you understand, maybe going back to what I just talked about, the key here is time. That if you start this early enough, you can get 30, 40, 50 years worth of compounding to work on your behalf. If you're like some of the people that I've worked with, that go on to become doctors, and they rack up all this debt, and they spend all this money, and they live this exorbitant lifestyle when they get out of school, and then they're 50 years old before they decide to start saving any money. They've lost their most important asset, which is time. And now they just have 10 or 15 years to start letting that money compound. So the earlier you start to compound, the more magical this effect can be. So start now.